We are the National Hispanic Cultural Center, and to open it to all the varieties of Latinos that exist, indigenous, Black, Asian, Muslim. We come in every shade, color, religion. What Afromundo is about, we were born during the pandemic because it became important, crucially important, for diasporas to unite, to know we have shared histories despite languages, despite being in different states and different nations. If we don't talk collectively about the issues that affect us, we're not going to be able to resolve the issues. It cannot just happen in having conversations in one state. What happens in Colombia with conservation efforts is crucial to what happens here in the United States with, Afro and Indigenous and BIPOC communities where toxicity is always surrounds us. So it's important. It's important to talk about farming. And Afromundo is about the short end of it. We're about narratives. At a time when BIPOC narratives are being erased throughout the nation and banned from libraries and bookstores, our idea was important conversations can happen within community. And community is ready and engaged and willing. And those narratives can be expressed through film or panels or art or exhibits or theater, because narratives are foundational to history, religion, culture, class, politics. The reason
they featured farmers, no one came to it in terms of heritage. They weren't handed down land and farms, etc. We know why. So many of them came to it accidentally or through love, through social justice questions and issues. So we will start at the end and work our way this way and begin with the origin stories.
So, I guess for me, it began when I started working in natural food stores, co-ops, back in 1988, 89. And I began to support myself this way while I went to school at Howard University, 8 years in Mecca. I was a journalism major, ended up in radio, but I always had a backup job at natural food stores. And so over time, I became more and more professional in that industry than anything else. The one question that I always had was why I was always traveling to work outside of my community. Why didn't we have natural food stores and co-ops in our communities? And I would ask the people, nobody knew. So it's just like, well, I guess Black people never heard of co-ops, right? And I got to the point in that industry actually, where as a general manager at multiple stores, and I was recruited to manage a co-op in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And while I was there, we were a part of an organization called the National Association of Cooperative Grocers. Yeah, something like that. I ended up on the board of that association, and I asked an audience of 125. Mostly white general managers, where we're Black people, right? Because we're progressives, right? We're all like, for us all being lifted, and nobody had an answer to that question. And I said, why? At that time, they were really pushing, like, we need to grow, we need to be we need to expand, stores need to have multiple stores, we need to really grow. And I said, well, we have this problem with all of these, what we call the food deserts in these Black communities. That seems like the obvious land to me. Why don't we go in that direction? And somebody was honest with me behind the scenes and said, you know, people are just scared. And the banks are not going to support it. And at that point, I realized, like, they ain't coming for us. We don't have to do this on our own, right? And I was thinking, like, how do we form co-ops? While at the same time, the co-op that I was managing realized in 2008 that we were having a dilemma. There was a fuel crisis, and we were dependent on food from California. And we learned from these truckers, like the producers would tell us, but the trucks said, hey, they're thinking about not delivering here because the fuel is so much, it's so high, that we can't drive back empty trucks. So y'all better start growing some food to take back, or y'all better start growing some food to eat. And so we as a co-op decided we're gonna take over a farm. And, but I learned when you take over a farm as a co-op, managing the farm, by default, you become the farm manager. So, in about 20, what was it, Jag knows, I got a witness, he know I'm telling the truth. I'm sorry? 2013, 2014, that's when he and I met, actually. He started helping me manage the farm. And that's how long we've been doing this thing. So that's how I got into it. And just realizing that if we want to eat, we better learn how to grow food as a community.
The origin story. I was reflecting about this, trying to prepare. And it's super complex, so I'll say that I'm a nurturer by nature, and I'm always looking to tend something, you know, whether it's my own personal feelings or others or family members or friends. And so after college, I returned back to Virginia, where I'm from, and I got into a 9-month wild kind of like camping / earth skill gathering, and it was every weekend for 9 months, and I returned to the land during those 9 months, connecting with the earth, trees, learning how to identify footprints and different plants, making fires, but you know, it was a group of white people. And I wasn't really thinking about that at the time. I was just really coming back to my senses of what it means to connect to the earth. And I knew since then, that's all I wanted to do was work outside. I was like, I gotta keep this up. And so from there, I went back into the city, and I actually stumbled across an urban gardening program led by Duran Chavis, who's a community activist on the East Coast in Richmond. And there we learned about horticultural skills, project management, and also community trust building. And so through that program, we really did talk about like the redlining and just the injustices and just how the city was set up to not necessarily provide or give access to certain groups of people. And so since then, I was like, okay, I gotta grow some food and I gotta do it for my people. And I'm also like a foodie. I love food. I love to eat. And so to kind of go back to the nurturer by nature, it's like, what am I putting in my body? And so I started asking those questions, and so really just starting to see these like webs come together. And then I made my way out to the Southwest, out here in Mexico, and I knew I wanted to work outside, so I was looking for farms to apply to, and then I found a farm, and I remember writing on a piece of paper to my ancestors, like a little prayer in my little deer pouch, deerskin pouch that I made. And I was praying to reconnect to the land in this deep spiritual way, like with my ancestors. I thought, yeah, it was going to be a different experience than what it was when I went to Unity, because it was a white-led farm, very high pace. But I still found ways to like sing to the earth and like, you know, weave in that part that I was really wanting to tend. But, you know, I only stayed for about a few months, and then I decided to leave because it just didn't feel in alignment. But then eventually I had returned back to that same land because I started working with Black Help in Mexico. And they were really and through that work, the way that I got there was through Sunshine News, who's the director. And I told her, you know, I'm looking for work, I want to work with the land, I want to work with the earth, and I want to work with Black people. And she said, okay, we don't really have anything right now, but you can support, because at the time, in response to the 2020 pandemic, they were serving CSA essentially for free. It was for free, and prioritizing purchasing food from women of color in northern New Mexico, or prioritizing people of color who farm in New Mexico, and then buying that produce to get it out to the people, the fresh, organic, healthy produce. And in that way, I was supporting, I did like maybe a couple runs, but just witnessing the community serve each other in that time was really important to me. And so Sunshine finally got back to me about maybe a year later and was like, hey, I have this project for you. And she trusted me, and she saw something in me and gave me an opportunity to tune into my leadership. I didn't even know it was there. And and since then I've just been discovering all things around organizing, bringing community together on the land, growing food, and I expressed in the bios like I'm a nomadic earth worker. It's just because I haven't found a place to completely root. I didn't grow up having land. We didn't have land in our family that I know of, and so I just, wherever I am, I'm growing and connecting with community, and you know, through that creating the ripples. And I really align with the sentiment Naima said of just like feeling that call, ready to root down somewhere, because I've been spreading between organizing Albuquerque, Santa Fe, and through up to Taos, and bringing us all together and feeling and weaving in community in that way has been really rich. And so that's how I got into it, and I'm emotional about this movie because I saw that reflection of what our community has been doing for the past 2 seasons. So really grateful.
The young pickets, the old pickets, the pickets who are ancestors and are going on about their way. Everybody likes to eat. I was born in East LA, and unbeknownst to many people, when somebody tells me that they're from LA, I'm like, what part? Because LA, people don't like to admit it, all right? It is not an urban environment. There's a lot of country towns, you know, all sprawled out across Southern California, totally country. And for some reason, people don't like to identify with being country, you know, but see, South Central is country, East LA is country. You know, when I grew up, you know, I mean, people had chickens in their front yard and goats. You know, I mean, you know, like kids would get scared, you know, because like, you know, if Mr. Jones was going to have chicken dinner, you know, chickens in the yard, chopping their heads off, and the chickens going to run around, and all the kids are scared that their chicken go loose, you know. So, I mean, it's a phenomenon, because in Boyle Heights, which is kind of central to East LA, you know, is a very, you got the Japanese, the Chinese, the Jewish, Mexicans from Mexico, you know what I'm saying? So it's a very broad, the Black people from down south, in the country. You know, so the country people like to eat. You know, their particular type of food. So, you know, growing up in that particular environment, and I was probably with the little kids, because I'm the youngest in my family, I used to sit in this tree. It was like my horse, sitting in this tree. So I'm sitting in this tree, you know, like until everybody comes home from school. And so, like, you know, that was my horse, my first horse. Was that tree horse? You know, so, you know, so the relationship between everybody likes cowboys. You know, everybody likes cowboys. So, you know, I'm a real cowboy. You know, my family, you know, that's who they are. You know, the Mexicans had horses, so, you know, like, and I dressed up like a cowboy every day. You know, you had to call me for real, you know, so like, you see on my business card, this little cowboy, that's me. On the side, the old guy, that's me. I felt like I own my own image. And my image, this is my image, you know, nobody will sue me for using my image. So, in the sense though, you know, like, where did I start? I started because I like to eat. My grandmother's like to cook. You know, I mean, the community that it came from, you know, like the Japanese, they have their style of food. You know, they control the downtown marketplaces. My uncles, they were hunters. So, I mean, when they went and hunt and they came back home, you know, I mean, the trading that began, you know, to take place. Then the old Jewish people, before they moved up further in what's called the Las Feliz area, they were in East LA. You know, I mean, so the old Jewish ladies, the way that they ate, you know, the bakeries that they had, you know, so my probably humble beginnings came from a result of the culture that I was in, which was very, very agrarian. Everybody had gardens. That's how they supplemented, you know, like the cost was to be able to have gardens, to be able to have livestock in the front yard, country. You know, so that's how I think those are